Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 10 and 11. I think this is the last double episode of the series because we're nearing the end of the episodes now. We're getting to the end, and these two episodes were very different. The first one was not really my cup of tea. It wasn't great. Second one was a little better, but let's get into it. So, Episode 10 of Season 3 is Identity Crisis, and we pick it up with this random baby alien with its mother, and we get a little interaction where it like throws a thing at some people, and they realize that this baby has force abilities. What they don't really know it's the force, but it's like they try to keep it secret. And then there's this random weird guy here that sees the baby and realizes this is something that I can report to the Empire and maybe get some credits for it. So that's exactly what he does once he gets back to his own apartment, I would assume. He contacts the Empire, and that he tells them that there is a child here that they would be of interest in. So obviously the Empire has been involved with kidnapping Force-sensitive children in many different scenarios, and this is just another one of them. It's even been a scenario during the Clone Wars itself with Palpatine. So, I mean, it's nothing really new. It's kind of a same old type of scenario, but it's a little bit of a different situation this time. It's for the entire cloning storyline. So, we jump to Tantus, and, dude, the only thing that I have endlessly praised for the Bad Batch, no matter if I like something or don't, is the visuals of the Bad Batch. It is insane that this is an animated series for Star Wars. Like, it looks really good. It really does. And the visuals are great. So we cut to Tantus, and we got Hemlock here looking into some vat, and we don't get to see what it is. I think it's one of those vats that we weren't shown before. So I don't know if we're going to see what these, like, maybe, like, disfigured whatever things are in there. I still think it's all, like, leading the sequel stuff because it kind of just all seems that way, but we got a scene of him looking in there. Emery, I think that's her name, is the other clone lady that's working at the facility. She comes in and she wants to oversee the entire Project Necromancer project that Nala Se was overseeing, because now Nala Se is no longer overseeing it. She is imprisoned. So Emery wants to take over and just kind of run the program and run over the experiments on certain things. So Hemlock kind of details her on some information, and he brings her into this big room where there's like 3 different children here, who all 3 different alien children that are being tested on, and they're basically just subjects to the Empire. They're not really people to them. They're just, test subjects, and they all have high M counts. And they go into why Omega is so special in this scene as well. So they do mention how they're testing these kids for their M counts and whatnot. And while he's doing that, he does mention to Emery that M count cannot be directly replicated from the source. So he mentions that the young clone's blood is the only binder that's proven to be compatible. And then it also says with their DNA to recreate their M count levels. So the whole scenario is kind of strange. I don't necessarily know exactly what this is supposed to mean. I think it's like, this will help, like, let's say in a perfect scenario that Palpatine wants. It's like he wants to be able to completely clone himself with his own force abilities perfectly. And cloning force sensitives is a challenge from what I've heard. And this is the first really perfect test subject with Omega that will perhaps give him that ability to do so. So she has a perfect type of DNA that can get into that scenario where it will replicate the M count levels, and you will be able to use the Force with a clone. So I think I got it right. If I don't, maybe they'll clarify it even a little later. But Omega is quite important for the Empire. We've known that for a while, but she plays into the whole Project Necromancer stuff, and we'll see where it goes. We jump to that alien kid and his mother. There's a bounty now after him, and our favorite bounty hunter, at least my favorite, Cad Bane, arrives. And look, I don't like how Cad Bane was done in the Book of Boba Fett. I don't think anybody really likes the Book of Boba Fett. It was pretty bad, but I love seeing Cad Bane look He's my favorite bounty hunter. He really is. Out of all the bounty hunters, I freaking love Cad Bane. And he comes in, he gets the kid, knocks the mother out with whatever, and yeah, collects the bounty. Good as that. Cad Bane's the best in the galaxy. At least from what I've seen, man, he's damn good. So we get some scenes with Emery going around the different cells with all the children getting tested like every day with their blood. Then we got this scene with this little green guy who decides to run off after she opens the cell, and he tries to run out of the room. Clearly doesn't make it, and the alarms go off. And then the clones run in and stun him, and they think that's a little bit of excessive force, but they stun him and they put him back in his cell. And after that scenario, Emery goes to talk with Nala Se, and Nala Se and her are both kind of reaching the same level of they don't really like seeing the experiments and the testing that the Empire is doing. They're kind of not for it. But Nala Se does mention that like you're the one running all this now. You're the one that has to continue to make these choices and choose whether or not you need to do this or help these children or whatever. It's all up to you now. I'm in this cell. This is where I am now. So all the responsibility for this whole Project Necromancer, whatever, with these children and these Force sensitives or high M count children, it's all up to her. And I don't know why they haven't killed Nala Se yet. I suppose it's because of Omega, and she's like really important to Omega, and Omega's important to her. I think that's the scenario why she's not been killed yet. But they do have Nala Se locked up. And after that, we do get a scene with Hemlock talking to Governor Tarkin. And Tarkin, he doesn't make many appearances in these shows. I will say he was kind of present in the beginning of this series, but he kind of vanished after we had other villains and Imperial leaders take charge. But now Hemlock is talking with him, and Tarkin is kind of out of the loop on this one. He's asking Hemlock why you are getting so much financial aid and the impact that your program could cause for the Empire, and why are you getting so much financial impact. And he's very curious about what his project is, and all Hemlock can really tell him is that it is something very important for the Emperor. So the Emperor is keeping this very secret, and I think it all just leads to that big story of line of him trying to clone himself and make a perfect clone for himself. And that's another whole thing. It's another whole controversial story, but that's just what we're doing in this. And it's a very secret project that they're now throwing in and trying to explain. So after he talks with Tarkin, he brings up our Imperial informant guy from like a few episodes ago. The guy that we still have no idea who it is, even though a lot of people are going to think it's like Tech or something. We have no idea who it is. But he contacts him to go and make sure you got to go get Omega. All right, it's time. We gotta speed this up a little bit. So the Empire collects the bounty from Cad Bane. So he comes and delivers the bounty, gets his payment, and leaves. They have the kid. Emery starts to become very, I don't know if you'd say attached, but she's empathetic towards all these children that are locked up, which, I'm gonna be honest, man, it's kind of annoying. And you're not supposed to root for the Empire. I know you're not supposed to root for the Empire, but we see this type of thing so many times. It's like you got this person out of nowhere who's so empathetic and is in the inside, and they're gonna turn on the Empire and save the day. It's like, all right, we all know what's going to happen. We can see it a mile away. Eventually, she's going to end up aiding them in some way. It's like, okay, whatever. So she has that little toy from Omega, and she leaves it in the cell for one of the kids because one of the kids was upset about the green kid getting stunned. She does that, and thus the episode ends. So episode 11 is Point of No Return, and I think this is the better episode of the two episodes this week. This one, we start out on this like asteroid base, and we get our favorite Star Wars character ever created in history. Fee, our favorite pirate person, whoever she is. I don't know. I guess she's still around. I mean, that is the island that the Bad Batch are staying at. It's her island with her family, so I guess she's still around because we had to replace Sid somehow. So our informant guy is on to Fee, and if they find out where Fee's been going, he will find out where the Bad Batch literally are going and staying at. So he sneaks onto her ship, gets some information, and manages to get off before she even sees him. And then he contacts the Empire, like, I know where they are, I'm going to get there, and I will also let you know where the Empire is, and I will let you know if the Bad Batch and the girl are there as well. So we cut to the Bad Batch on the island, and they're getting ready to leave. Actually, they're getting ready to leave. Another great visual shot as the informant actually makes his way in to the island, and God, it looks great. It looks great. Like, you compare this, a shot like this, to even, like, you know, some of the Clone Wars episodes. I mean, this is just, it's insane how good it looks. Some of these very visual cinematic shots. I love it. I really, really love it. But one really cool thing this the Imperial Informant guy did when he came in is he stopped the incoming, like, ship. There was like an incoming ship warning on the Bad Batch's ship, and he like overrid it, and then the warning stopped blinking on their ship. So he came in all sneaky, all perfect, and nobody noticed he came in. So he went right into the same cave that Ventress was in last episode, or last week, and that's where he's hiding his ship. And you start to see little moments of Hunter starting to feel something and realize that something isn't right. He's seeing some birds fly off, and he's like, something just isn't right, and he doesn't like it. So our informant does look around, and he does see Omega. He sees the Bad Batch, and he realizes that they're there, and he contacts the Empire, lets them know that they are there, and now we know that the Empire is aware of this area as well. So things are not going to go too well very, very soon. So we cut to the next scene, and it's our informant guy. I'm just going to call him that till we know who it is. He places a bunch of grenades on top of the Bad Batch's ship while Wrecker is there loading up the ship. And he blows up the Bad Batch's ship. The Bad Batch's ship, they've been in all series, and even the Clone Wars, has now been destroyed. So, I mean, yeah, it's the end of the series. Things are going to happen. So, their ship is destroyed. They have no ship. It's gone. It's wrecked. They're not getting that thing back. It's not as incinerated, I guess, as Mandalorian's Razor Crest from when they blew his ship up, but it's pretty wrecked. I don't think they're getting back in that thing. So Wrecker's hurt, but he's not dead, so they got to go help him out. And as they do that, the Empire arrives. So all hell is breaking loose. The Empire's there. They're blowing things up. Our informant guy is basically the leader there until the Imperial Commandos come in. But he is like the man in charge right now, and it's going to be somebody we know. I just can't see where it's not somebody we don't know. Like, it has to be. I hope it's not Tech. That would be really silly. It really, really would be. There's enough things where I can't see it being him, but I also could just see them doing that because, of course. So we don't find out this episode who it is, but they're putting a lot of attention on him, and I think it's definitely a clone. Obviously, I mean, we saw other ones in a few episodes back where it was a clone, so it is a clone. And we're going to find out eventually. I think it is someone we know, but we don't actually know just yet. But as they're doing that, Crosshair, Omega, and Hunter are kind of like the ones that are together. Hunter splits off to go and capture a gunship from the Empire so they can escape and get off with a ship because their ship is destroyed. So he jumps onto his ship, but our informant guy here, the Imperial informant, is damn good aim. And he actually kills the stormtrooper flying the ship to take down the ship. So instead of shooting the ship and maybe trying to crash the ship, he just shoots the pilot and the whole thing goes down. So I thought that was pretty interesting, actually. He just decides to shoot the guy instead of the ship. So he takes out the stormtroopers so that Hunter can't get their ship. So Crosshair and Omega are the only ones really left there together, and they got to figure out what to do. And this is another moment I did not like in this episode at all. I did not like this moment. I am sick and tired of the Bad Batch being like servant to Omega. Like, she is all holy. Like, she is the one in charge in this show, basically, and it pisses me off. Okay, Crosshair of all people and Hunter of all people should not be so giving and willing to just go along with whatever Omega wants to do. It's pissing me off. This time around, she decides, I'm just going to give myself up. Don't worry though, guys. I'll let you guys put a tracker on me and put a tracker on their ship, and you can track me there, and you'll find the location of Tantus. See, it all works out. Crosshair doesn't want to do it, and Hunter definitely wouldn't want to do it, but Crosshair just gives in because that's what they do on this show. They just give in to Omega because she is the one they have to listen to. They all serve her. It's very clear at this point, and it's extremely frustrating. Of all people to not, it should be Crosshair. I mean, come on. And he's just one of the same, and it's just annoying. So she gives herself up to the informant guy. So she gets cuffed, and they take her little tracker comm device. So obviously that's not going to be able to be used for Crosshair. So it's up to Crosshair to put a tracker on the ship that they're going to fly off in. So they take Omega to his ship, and as they're getting on, he's about to put a tracker on it, and stormtroopers attack him. And of course he cannot get a tracker on the ship. So he has failed. So Omega went with the Empire, and they have no tracker on the ship or on her, and now they got to figure out some new miracle next week, which of course they will, but it's just like frustrating. I am very, very frustrated with the character of Omega. I have been for a while, and that whole ending was just silly, but it's kind of just expected at this point with this show. The last shot is of Omega in the ship, and it looks like she's maybe trying to connect with the Force. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised either if this show just does some crazy weird Force connection stuff with Omega suddenly, so that they can find her somehow. I don't know what they'll do next week, but we don't have many episodes left. It's like 14 or 15 episodes of the season, ends like the beginning of May, so we got like a month left here, a few more weeks. They were fine. The second episode was better, for sure. The first one was very boring. I mean, it tried to show the Empire being very dark and ruthless. I get it, but I don't know. The Bad Batch, it's been better this season, I think, than last season, but the general feeling of Star Wars for me is not great right now, so I just don't think this show is pulling in anybody. I really don't think it is. And I always wish it would. I think this is definitely one of the better shows right now, if you can see that they have right now, because all their live action ones have been just bad lately. Like, I can't even remember the last time live action Star Wars shows were good. Maybe Mando season 2. But like, this is okay, but it's not pulling anybody in. I just don't think many people are watching this show, and it's not going to save Star Wars in any way. And I think once this show ends, it's just going to go out in a blip, and not many people are going to even realize it ended. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So I want to see what happens with like Crosshair. I want to see where his journey ends, I guess. But I don't really care for many of the people on this show. I just don't. Like, whatever. It is what it is. I think the finale and the ending of the show will be pretty exciting. Yeah, we'll see what happens.